This is the Omega Seamaster 300, which is Omega's modern homage to their first professional dive style watch that debuted over 66 years ago, back in the late 1950s. The Seamaster name had been around since the 1940s, but it wasn't until 1957 that we got this dive style design, and I think it is a strong design. I like the fact that modern Omega, owned by the Swatch Group, is going back decades and decades back to that original and significant release, and they've done a modern version that is faithful in design essentials, but is still very modern and carries some very nice specifications. Now I'm going to go through the dimensions, the positives, the negatives, before I jump into the detail work. Let me first shout out Exquisite Timepieces. Exquisite Timepieces is a family-owned brick-and-mortar authorized dealer for Omega, amongst other brands, and they are in Naples, Florida. I've bought multiple watches from them. I've reviewed multiple watches from them over the years. So if you were looking for a great authorized dealer to buy an Omega, I'll leave a link in the description of this video. Now to the Seamaster 300 on my 7.25-inch wrist. I think this is the most comfortable diver out of the Omega diver product catalog, more so than the Seamaster Professional 300, more so than the Planet Ocean, more so than the Ultra Deep and the Pro Plof. This one, it really hits the sweet spot in terms of comfort and in terms of versatility. The dimensions are 41 millimeters of case diameter, 48 millimeters of lug-to-lug distance, and 13.9 in overall height. 21 millimeter lugs with a weight of about 150 grams on this tapering bracelet. And I think the bracelet paired with the clasp is one of the reasons why this one wears so well. The links are slightly thinner than what you would find on a Pro or on a Planet Ocean. And I like this taper. I like the fact that the clasp is smaller than the other clasps in the diver family from Omega. And it still has the quick adjust system, so it has all of the niceties, but it doesn't have the extra weight and heft. And so again, this one just feels very nice on wrist. Within the watch is the 8912 coaxial in-house movement that will be METIS certified, so certified by the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology. There is no date with this movement. There is no ghost date position in the crown, and the watch will beat 25,200 times every hour. It will have 38 separate jewels and 60 hours of power reserve. The movement also carries a free-sprung balance with a silicone hairspring, variable inertia screws to regulate the balance. Note that the balance is in a full balance bridge. There are ceramic rotor bearings for the movement, and I like the fact that it carries an arabesque style machine finish, and that finish is found on the plates, the rotor, the bridges, the various components, and I think it has a lovely look that I associate with modern Omega. And I also like the fact that I can view it through a synthetically created flame fusion sapphire crystal, so that helps me see where the value is. I really like that as a watch collector. And my favorite thing about the movement is the fact that it carries the time zone hour hand. So if I travel, I can pop the crown out, adjust the hour hand that is nice and large, beveled. It has the rhodium plating. It looks great. I can bump that forward or backward without hacking the balance. And I just find that a very practical complication. Now let's go through some of the other specifications here. This does have a synthetic sapphire crystal on the top of the watch as well. I do not see any discernible anti-reflective treatment. We do have a hardened aluminum bezel insert that is harder by up to 50% compared to other anodized aluminum bezel inserts. And the surprising thing here is the fact that it is fully lumed. And I think that is so satisfying. I love the bitone lume. I love the potency. I love the longevity. I think the lume is a strong element of the Seamaster 300. The watch will also have a sandwich style dial with a little bit of texture. And my favorite thing is just the simplicity and the strength of the symmetry. So no date here, but no superfluous text. It's all about the brand. It's all about the old school font. And that's it. There is no water resistance designation or automatic designation. You compare this to, say, the Seamaster Professional 300, the Planet Ocean, or a competing brand like Tudor with the Pelagos, and some of those watches almost look ridiculous with how much text is on the dial. And this Seamaster 300 is simple and clean and very aesthetically pleasing. Now, I will end with reiterating the strengths of the watch, and then I'll go to the weaknesses of this piece that are subjective and they come down to my own opinion. But I think this watch has a lot of comfort. I like the adjustability. I like the taper of the bracelet. I like the accuracy of this 8912. I like the shock resistance. I like the ridiculous anti-magnetic threshold of 15,000 Gauss. That's a lot of value there. I like the retro-inspired design. I like this finish, the lume, and just the versatility on wrist. Where I think this falls short comes down to two things. The first one is very poor or no applications of anti-reflective coatings, and I get the reasoning why Omega is trying to strengthen the idea that this is a retro-inspired design. And old watches from 60 plus years ago, they did not have anti-reflective coatings, and there was a lot of reflections on those acrylic crystals. And so I get the reasoning, but we have a lot of reflections here to the point that they are almost distracting. The other thing is the old radium superluminova, which for myself, I always do a case-by-case basis on whether a watch suffers from it or is enhanced by it. On some watches, I don't mind it. It's just a warm color. On other watches, I think it holds it back. And unfortunately, I think it holds this Seamaster 300 back. Again, I get the reasoning. Omega is strengthening the idea of this retro-inspired design, but it just doesn't feel appropriate here. This is a modern watch. Yes, it is an homage, but if this had white tone lume like the Planet Ocean or like the Seamaster Professional 300 or like the Ultra Deep or Proplof, I think it would be better. I think it would be more legible, and I think it would be more enjoyable. So with those two things improved, this may become Omega's best or most universally praised dive watch. I think this is a strong piece as is, but there is a little room for improvement in my opinion. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any specific questions. I will do my best to answer those questions in the comment section of this video. Again, shout out to Exquisite Timepieces. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.